Hey friends, I'm about to break down how last year's lib was looking out for this year's lib. I'm gonna give you 8 ways that sis was looking out for me, and I also happen to be sis. But first of all, welcome back to my old friends. And if you are new here, hey new friend, my name is Labria Jones. I love to share personal development, remote work, travel, lifestyle stuff, pretty much anything that is related to my journey to be the best version of myself and to live a fulfilled life. And then I hope that it helps you to do that too. Today, I'm gonna give my old self a pat on the back for looking out for you, girl. I'm gonna give you 8 ways that last year's lib made this year's lib life so much better. Don't you feel like you hate wasting time and feeling like you fell behind? I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I'm annoyed with my past self for not looking out for my today self and setting my today self up for success. Sometimes I'm looking at stuff like, man, if I had just started this a year ago, 2 years ago, I would be so much farther ahead, or I would have hit that goal. But crazy enough, this year I haven't felt like that as much. I actually have not felt like that as much this year. 2 years ago, I will say I felt really lost. I felt very lonely. And to keep it all the way 100 with y'all, my self-esteem was in the toilet. My self-esteem was horrible 2 years ago. I just, like I said, lost, lonely, and low self-esteem, and I wasn't very happy. But last year, I made intentional efforts to address those things. And this year, I am reaping the benefits of that. And I'm so happy that last year's lib looked out for today lib. And so I want to share with you some of the things that I did. Now, I'm going to give you this list in order of small things to big things, right? Because not every change has to be something huge or epic or such a big deal. Some of those changes that make big impacts are small changes. Small things build momentum. And keep in mind, momentum is what helps planes take off. And so I like to think of it as like every forward action is the momentum you need to take off towards your goals and towards living the life that you want. So let's talk about it. The first thing that I did was I started using this stuff called DuraDry. This is small, but big. I started using this stuff called DuraDry. So let me first back up before I tell you what DuraDry is and tell you that your girl is a sweaty bitch. It's so embarrassing, but I have something called hyperhidrosis, so I sweat a lot. And it's not like I work out and I sweat. No. I sweat doing normal people things like having conversations, like sitting here and recording this video, my hands are a little sweaty. It's more like anxious sweating. So if I am doing a speaking engagement, if I'm on an interview, if I'm talking to a guy I like or on a date, or even if I get dressed up and I feel like I'm really cute and I'm about to go out with my friends, like on the way there, I'm sweating the whole time. So it's really anxiety based, and it's been like this my whole life. And I remember when I was in my early 20s, like me and my best friend, one of my best friends has this problem too. And she and I researched this in college, and the options that we found were either get Botox or have your sweat glands removed. And I was like, it just don't sound like a good idea to me to have Botox in my hands, in my armpits, my feet, and my crotch. Yeah, guys, it happens down there too. It's super embarrassing. Anyway, I was like, I just don't think it's a good idea. And this is before Botox was something that everybody was doing out in the open. It was like something rich people do that were like celebrities, right? Again, this was my 20s, so 25 years ago. Damn. I need a moment for that. But anyway, 25 years ago, we heard that Botox, and we were like, nah, I'm not getting shots in my armpits. And then 2, we're having your sweat glands removed. It just doesn't sound like a good idea. Aren't sweat glands there for a reason? Isn't that how your body releases toxins? I'm good, I don't wanna do that. But what's crazy is I just never looked into it again. I just didn't even think about it. So this was for me just a problem I had to live with. And how I resolved it was I just didn't wear certain fabrics. I didn't wear certain colors. A lot of times I don't let people hold my hand. I get nervous about shaking hands. You know when you're in church and they say hold hands and pray? I hold people's finger because my hands are probably gonna start sweating. So a lot of times when I do speaking engagements, I wear black or I wear a jacket. I love color. I prefer to wear color, but a lot of times I have to think about, what am I going to be doing in this outfit? Can I wear it? So I don't wear silk, like the crepe fabric. I don't wear a lot of that because it shows sweating a lot. And it really, really sucks. So it's limited what I'm able to wear. And it's also, limited some of the things I do. For a long, long time, I didn't like for people to give me pedicures. I didn't get foot massages because if someone touches my feet, they're going to start sweating. Like it just kind of is what it is. And so it's just kept me from being able to lean into fabrics and colors that I want to wear. It's kept me from being affectionate in certain ways. And it's also, kind of a hit to the confidence when you're standing up worrying about whether or not you have sweat rings showing. Listen, I spoke at No Madness Fest last year and I had on this green shirt, and this is before I started wearing DuraDry. And I was like, this is a risk. This is so risky. Like normally I would wear black. So a lot of people think that I don't get nervous and stuff on stage, and I'm like super confident, but the truth is I sweat. So I do get nervous. Like you don't necessarily hear it in my voice. Sometimes you can, but I'm always internally nervous. Like I sweat so much, and I am taking a huge risk wearing colors today. Why am I out here in this green? Anyway, I also truly believe, like I interviewed for a job fresh out of college, and I believe I didn't get the job because of this. Let me tell you the story real quick. I was interviewing for JP Morgan Chase, and it was like a half day of interviews. They put me in a room and multiple people would come in and sit down and talk to me. Sometimes it would be one person and sometimes it would be two. And I had on a heather gray suit, which already is a no-no. If you went to business school at FAMU, we were specifically told to wear navy blue, charcoal gray, or black. We were told to wear dark colored suits. I did not listen. I had this really cute heather gray suit that I wore to this interview. And I'm gonna tell you something. Very seldom do I interview and not get the job, or at least make it, to the next 1 or 2 rounds. This particular job, I interviewed well, but after the interview, I went to the bathroom. I had sweat all the way down to like damn near to my waist. That's how bad it was, guys. So when I say I have hyperhidrosis, I fully mean that. And sometime last year, I started really getting into the beauty girlies on YouTube, watching their like skincare routines and bath care routines, body care routines, I should say. I've never watched anyone take a bath, guys. That's not a thing. Not a thing for me. But really getting into like the girls that share basically their grooming routines. And somehow YouTube popped up a video for me for somebody that had hyperhidrosis and what she did with it. And I came upon this thing called DuraDry. Now, DuraDry is a 3-step system. I started with their armpits. I haven't done anything else. They have wipes for the hands, sweat blockers for your hands and stuff like that. I haven't used those yet. They have powders and all kinds of other things, but I started with their 3-step system that I use for my armpits. And it is a wash. So they have a wash that you use, and then they have a serum that you put on at night, and then they have an antiperspirant. Now, I will tell you it is highly aluminum based because that's generally an antiperspirant, right? But I know a lot of people are anti-aluminum. I sweat too much to be anti-aluminum, apparently. So I use the wash, I use the serum, and then I use the antiperspirant. Now, I will be honest, I did have to step back on the serum at night because it is concentrated aluminum, and at some point it just started making me itch really badly. So now I don't use it every night. I use it like 3 nights a week or something like that. I don't use it every night, but it has been a game changer. It really has. So now I can wear color. I don't have to worry about what I'm wearing, especially if I'm going on stage anymore. It feels really great. And again, this is a small thing, but it is a game changer for me not having to keep myself from wearing certain colors and certain fabrics. And I get to explore and express myself a lot more. And I just feel a lot more confident, right? So if me and my friends are getting cute to go out to an event, I'm not worried about like, once I get there, am I going to be sweating my life away while everybody else is just in here looking cute? Which is also a thing for a girly that's like getting close to perimenopause. So one of the things that I'm so grateful that last year's Lib did was try DuraDry. It has been such a game changer for me. Again, a small thing, but a game changer for me on the quest to improve my self-confidence, because now I get to wear more things, right? And I get to feel cute and fun and vibrant in great colors and great fabrics. And I'm not walking around wearing black all the time. Nothing wrong with wearing black, but like I was wearing a lot of black. It had gotten ridiculous in my opinion. If you're interested in trying DuraDry, I'm gonna put a link in the description box that will help you get, I think it's $10 off or 10% off. I cannot remember, but it will be in the description box, so you can check that out. So the second thing I did for myself last year was dressing for my figure. So let's go back 2 years and let's talk about how my self-esteem had gotten so low. Part of it was I was larger than I'd ever been. I had gained more weight than I'd ever gained, and I just didn't know how to dress my body, and I didn't like the way I looked. I'm just keep it 100 with y'all. I just did not like the way I looked, and on top of that, I didn't know how to dress my body. I started looking different. I'm gonna be 46 this year. I started looking different when I hit 39, 40. I started looking very different, and so I have like 20 plus years of experience dressing a slim, athletic body. I only have 5 years of experience dressing this one, and so 2 years ago, I was lost. I was still wearing stuff and buying stuff that fit my old body, and it just did not look good on my new body. And I'm a person who gets a lot of energy from going out and socializing and being with people, being with friends, hanging out, going to events, talking, meeting new people, whatever. I am a person I am a textbook extrovert. I get a lot of energy from that. Like everybody, I need time to myself, but I can't have too much time to myself. I cannot have too much time to myself. Like I start to get, I don't know, sad. I just start to get sad. And so going out is a big part of life fulfillment for me. Going and it doesn't have to be going out to clubs. It could just be going to an art gallery with friends or going to a picnic. Either way, leaving the house and hanging out with folks. And I had pretty close to stop doing it because getting dressed to go somewhere was so demoralizing. It was so demoralizing because I'd get into the mirror, like I'd put something on and I didn't like the way it looked, and that reduced my self-confidence. Like then I try something on and it reduced my self-confidence. So imagine you've got a cup. Your cup is full, right? Your confidence cup is full. And every time you try something on, some of the water spills out of that confidence cup. And so by the time I have on something that is, I think, appropriate and acceptable to leave the house in, my confidence cup is damn near empty. And so the process of getting dressed was so demoralizing and killing my self-confidence that I just kind of stopped leaving the house and just started focusing on being at the house and working on stuff. And that was 2 years ago. And last year I made it a goal to meet with my stylist and have her teach me how to dress myself. Because I was like, you know, on the one hand, I do want to work out. I do want to lose weight. I do want to get back to being some version of slim and athletic. Maybe not my 35-year-old version, maybe the 45-year-old version, 46-year-old version of that. But on the way there, I want to like the way I look as well. And I realized, especially watching a lot of my friends and other people who are plus size fashion influencers and who always look amazing, understanding that style is not about size, right? And looking good and feeling good about yourself does not have to be attached to what size you are. So I was like, last year I put it on my goals list to meet with my friend who's a stylist. Her name is Morgan Wider. She is a stylist, Wider Stylist for Business. I'll put a link to her in the description box if you guys ever want to reach out to her. But we got together last year and talked about some of the things that I was going through. We had a preliminary call and then we went out for a shopping day. And I remember getting there and telling her, yeah, because you know, I'm an apple shape now. And she was like, girl, what you talking about? You're an hourglass. And I was like, no, I have a stomach now, so I'm an apple shape. She was like, no, that does not negate that you are an hourglass. You are still an hourglass shape. The definition of an hourglass is that your bust and hips are the same width. And your waist is not the same width as those two things. She was like, an hourglass is a curvy person who has bust and hips at the same width, and that still describes you. She was like, you're still an hourglass, love. You're not an apple shape. And I was like, oh, okay. So then she actually pulled some clothes and tried them on with me in the dressing room, and she would explain to me why certain things worked and certain things didn't. And what popped out to me, one of the things that she said was I shouldn't wear things with embellishments on the shoulders because I have broad shoulders. And I was like, no, I don't. And she was like, yes, you do. And so I thought about every time I put on a shirt that had like the puff sleeves, and I thought I looked terrible in it. And this conversation helped me shift that thinking from I look terrible in it to this is not cut for me. Do you see the difference there? You see how one thing is about me and how I'm not good enough for this garment, and the other is the garment is not made for me. It's the garment. It ain't me, boo. It's the shirt. It's not me. And so she did a really good job of helping me shift that mindset. And then on top of that, she gave me the tools to understand what works well for my body style. And so now when I go shopping, it's fun. I actually go shopping with this in mind. Like, I can look at it on the hanger and be like, this is going to be great on me because of these reasons. This isn't cut for me for these reasons. And now when I go into the dressing room or when I'm putting on clothes, I don't feel like crap because I already kind of know what's going to work. And I already know what's not going to work. And there have been times where I've tried things on that didn't work, but I knew that going in. I was like, this may not work because it's XYZ, but it may work because of this. But I am so appreciative of last year's Lib making sure that she took the time to have that conversation, to have that session with Morgan. And even now, I will go in the dressing room and I'll try stuff on and I'll send it to Morgan. She'll be like, yes, girl. And I'll be like, I knew this was going to look good on me. And so I just feel so much more empowered when I'm out shopping. And I'm no longer like trying to wear big things to cover up how I look. She actually showed me that a lot of times, especially even girls that have gained weight, if you show your waist, it will look like you have a waist. Like, you actually look smaller when you wear closer fitting garments versus throwing on big things. And I knew this, but I wasn't actually doing this. So anyway, all that to say, I'm very, very grateful for last year, Libria taking the time to meet with Morgan and to go through that and to, really lean into understanding how to dress this body as I'm on the journey to getting more fit and more athletic. I still want to like the way I look when I wake up every day, right? I still want to feel good about myself when I leave the house, and I have, and I do. And I'm still learning. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like I got it all figured out, but I feel so much better now. So thank you, last year, Lib. Okay, so along the same lines, another thing that last year Lib did with that information is she also decided to stop leaving the house looking a hot mess. I know that sounds bad. Like, I know a lot of people, all of the girlies, like, y'all be getting dressed to go out. Like, y'all be putting on makeup. I'm not that girl. Like, if I'm just running to Publix, child, I'm about to throw on a shirt or some leggings and go on about my business. that's just kind of how I am. And then let me not say leaving the house looking a hot mess. I will say that last year's Lib decided to be intentional about looking like I left the house on purpose. I told my best friend, sometimes I feel like I look like I didn't leave the house on purpose. I look like the house caught on fire and I had to leave in a rush. So this is, again, a self-esteem improvement. So this is a small but mighty change. And I feel like the act of getting dressed, the act of grooming and getting dressed has really been lifting my spirits. I believe that when you feel good about yourself, it radiates through how you show up in different areas. It radiates in how you show up at work, how you show up for friends. And yeah, I think that it's been a bit of a game changer. So now, before I leave the house, I'm gonna put a little bit more effort. And one of the things that there used to be this show, man, what was the name of the show where these two people, I think it was on TLC channel, where they would completely make over someone. They would like go in their closet, and I used to love this show so much. I'm so mad I don't remember the name of it. But they would go into someone's closet, see what they've been wearing. They would teach them how to shop and make them over. And one of the things that people would always say on the show was, I just put on what's comfortable to go out. And they were like, it takes the same. And they were like, I don't like spending a lot of time to get dressed. And they said, it takes the same amount of time to put that on as it takes to put this on, right? And I think what people, and what I've been challenged with, is not wanting to expend the mental energy to have to go and think about what to put on and then still not feel good in it. I think that's what it really is. I think that's what really keeps people from being intentional about how they look when they walk out of the house. And so armed with the information that I got from my stylist, I feel a little bit better about being intentional because I'm not thinking, oh, let me figure out what to put on, and then I put it on and it's a bust. So it's not wasted time. It's not me setting myself up for me to feel bad about myself, none of that. Now I actually have clothes that I like. And so again, it takes the same amount of time to throw on, and I'm not getting dressed up, right? So I might put on a tank top like this, some jeans, but I'm gonna put some jewelry on, right? I'm going to throw on some lip gloss. I might put on a little bit of concealer and some cute earrings and spray on some perfume, but being intentional about looking like I left the house on purpose has been a game changer. And also being intentional about like just getting up and getting dressed, even if I have no plans to leave the house, because if something comes up and I need to leave the house, or if I decide I want to record a video, I'm already kind of ready to do that. And so I want to thank last year's Lib for just being more intentional about putting effort into grooming and getting dressed every day, even if I'm not really, even if I'm just going to the grocery store or anything like that. Number 4 is going to be, we're going into kind of the bigger stuff now. So the 4th thing that I did last year that I am so proud of myself for and so grateful. I'm so grateful she did this. And honestly, I'm side-eyeing 10 years, Liv from 10 years ago. I'm side-eyeing Liv from 10 years ago because she should have been did this, but it is what it is. Last year, Liv, you my girl. I maxed out my 401k last year for the very first time. Give it up. Give it up for last year's Liv. Listen, I used to work for a company that administered 401k. So trust me when I say I know the power of a 401k. If you don't know what a 401k is, it is a retirement savings vehicle that is typically offered by your employer, which allows you to put away money and invest it for retirement tax-free, okay? So that is what a 401k is. And the maximum limit to contribute to your 401k this year is $22,500. Next year it'll be $23,000. Yeah. Last year it was 22. So when I started doing this, it was $22,000 for the entire year. This was the first year I ever maxed out my 401k. Now, I have always contributed to a 401k at the very least, and that is something I suggest that you do. If you don't contribute anything to your 401k, please, friend, contribute something to your 401k. Ideally, the minimum that you contribute is the most to get the match from your employer. So if your employer matches 6%, what do you need to do to get all of that 6%? Because you're leaving free money on the table if you're not, okay? Do that, or at the bare minimum, just contribute something, because that's tax-free dollars that goes towards you saving for retirement. And if you leave the company, you can roll over your 401k to the next company, or there are companies that have other investment vehicles that you can roll it into. Anyway, 401ks are important. We all gotta retire at some point, y'all. So let's put the money away. Anyway, I had all this fear around maxing out my 401k. I didn't see it as something that I could do. I've just not always been a person that's been a big saver. I'm good at telling people what to do with money. I'm like the Confessions of a Shopaholic girl. I'm not a shopaholic necessarily, unless it comes to like flights and eating out. But she was really good at telling people, giving people financial advice. Like, I know what to do. Do I do it though? Not always. So I had a lot of fear around, or just a lack of belief, and didn't see myself as someone that could max out a 401k. Like, do I make enough money to do that? Turns out I do, and have for a while, okay? But the idea of that money not being accessible to me was nerve-wracking, because you can't take the money out. You can't just use the money. It's not just like a savings account. You can take the money out for very specific reasons. If you are buying a primary residence, if you are paying for college tuition for a dependent or yourself, if you have unpaid medical bills, and I forgot the 4th reason. There's one more reason. I can't remember the 4th reason, but there are 4 hardship reasons why you can take the money out. And you can take loans against it. So, but it's money that like you're putting away, and then you just don't have access to it until you're like 55 or 65 or something. And so that was a little nerve-wracking to me. But also I felt like this is money I would be missing. And I feel like that comes from like a mindset of lack. I was thinking about all of the things I couldn't buy with that money or do with that money, versus thinking about what 80-year-old Libria, 70-year-old Libria, 60-year-old Libria will be able to do with that money. I was thinking about what today Libria can't do with that money. And I just was also just worried about just not having enough money. And so I sat down one day last year and just kind of thought about it. I did the math. There's this website called Paycheck City that you can put all the information, your salary and all of the deductions, and it will tell you like how much you will have as your take-home pay. So I went and did the calculations and I was like, this actually doesn't impact my take-home pay as much as I thought it would. And it's a significant amount of money, and it's money that I need to be saving for myself. So last year I just went ahead and did it. So I was always putting away enough to get the maximum match from my employer. I think my employer puts in $2,500 a year, and I can't remember what the percentage is, but whatever I needed to do to get that $2,500, that's what I was doing. But last year I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna max out my 401k. I'm gonna do the whole $22,000 for the whole year. I took $22,000, divided it by however many paychecks we get. I think we get 24 because we get paid twice a month. And I went and changed my contributions to whatever that is so that I could contribute the max to my 401k. And it feels really good. I'm gonna tell you something. It felt hella responsible. I felt like a bona fide adult. And I felt like this is one of those times in my life where I am making good and solid financial decisions. Now, there are some people who are, really good financially, very financially savvy. I have friends who don't believe in putting money in a 401k because in their mind, they can invest that money on their own better and still have access to it. It's still liquid and easy to access, and they don't have to apply or take out a loan to get access to their money. I know this about myself. Somebody need to put that money away and keep it away from me. So this 401k is like exactly what I need, because I probably would have done something else with it by then. And every once in a while, I go back and look into my 401k and I just kind of smile because like, I have this money that's put away. It's not nearly what I need for retirement, but I am so much closer than I would have been had I not done this, right? Like, I'm not even going to, I was watching a video and someone was talking about, and let me find this actually. I think that sometimes we get so discouraged about how far we are from the goal. And there's a book called Mind the Goal, Not the Gap. And the premise of the book is really about not measuring how far you are from the goal, but how far you are from where you started, right? And so there's all these calculators that tell you how much you should have saved up for retirement by a certain age. By my age, I am actually very behind the goal. But when I look at where I was a year ago, 2 years ago, I am so much farther along. And I'm ridiculously proud of last year's Live for making that decision. And then this year, I made the same decision. I will be maxing out my 401k this year as well. So I'm very glad that Libria did this last year. Way to go, Libria. Good job on the adulting. And then the other thing is, I saw this video. So we can have a whole nother conversation about this. I think one of my frustrations is that I don't necessarily believe that I am going to be able to save up what I need for retirement. I think I've run out of time. That's just how I feel. And so what I've been trying to do is set up income streams so that I can have retirement income versus retirement savings. That's been my main focus. But I saw this YouTube video. No, it was an Instagram video. And this guy was talking about how much you needed to have $1 million by age 65 if you were already in your 40s. And the amount he said, y'all, is less than what I'm putting into my 401k. It is less. I'm putting in double what he mentioned.
If you're 40 or older and you have nothing saved for retirement, you can still retire a millionaire by investing $28 a day. I'm going to show you how in 60 seconds. First, you're going to make sure you're getting your full employer 401k match. This is the closest thing to free money there is. If you make $60,000 a year and your employer matches 3% of your contributions, that's $1,800 a year in free money. Step 2 is going to a site like Fidelity or Vanguard and opening a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is an individual retirement account where any money you make is not taxed by the government. Inside your 401k and Roth IRA, you want to buy a total stock market index fund like stock symbol F0X. This gives you ownership of all the best companies in the stock market like Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia without having to buy them all individually or guess how much you have to buy. Historically, the US stock market has averaged 10% annually or about 6 to 7% adjusted for inflation. If you average $28 a day within those two accounts or $850 a month, after 25 years at age 65, you'll have over $1 million.
So it turns out that I am not out of time the way that I thought I was. When you look at the math, like I could hit it. I could hit the number that I need for retirement as long as I continue to do what I'm doing. Either way, I'm just glad that I am making progress. And so this will be my call to action for you. Invest in your 401k, put some money away into your 401k. If you do not work at a company that offers a 401k, you can do an IRA. IRA limits this year. IRA is also, you can do it pre-tax or post-tax. I suggest doing it pre-tax. The idea is when you take the money out of retirement, your tax rate will likely be lower. And so you want to put the money away pre-tax, but you make that decision. Talk to a tax attorney. It needs to be based on your situation. For me, I would put money away pre-tax because my tax rate is higher now than it will likely be when I'm in retirement, maybe. But you can do an IRA, and you can set up an IRA with plenty of banks. My bank, Ally Bank, and my bank, SoFi Bank, all have IRAs. And SoFi recently started offering a 1% match in your IRA. So I will put a link in the description box if you want to check out an IRA by SoFi Bank and start investing in that. You can invest in an IRA if you already have a 401k as well. So that is an investment vehicle I plan to add. The only reason I have not started doing it is because I won't get a tax benefit from it at this point. That's a whole nother conversation. It's just based on your tax rate and what you're already getting the benefit from. It is something that I do intend to add to my retirement savings plan as well. Anyway, I will put the link in the description box in case you want to look into the IRA at either of the banks that I use. Number 5 on my list was that I decentered relationships and sex last year. Listen, I was so very lonely in 2022. I had it bad, y'all. Your girl was down bad. I felt it a little bit at the beginning of last year as well. But it was bad 2 years ago. It was really bad 2 years ago. It got so bad that like it would be tough watching people kiss in movies, like watching romantic comedies or watching like couples kiss in movies, or walking down the street and seeing couples. I'd be looking at them like, what's so special about her and not me? Like it was like it had gotten like that, y'all. Like it had gotten bad. And so last year I made the decision to be celibate. And part of that was just that I was not in the emotional space to be able to manage sex without a serious relationship. Yeah, I just wasn't in a space for that. Now, I'm not saying I was only planning to be celibate. It was, I think the rule that I said was, I will not have sex unless I am in a serious relationship or seriously dating someone. And I wasn't really trying to date anybody last year either. I would go on dates here and there, and talk to guys here and there, but like I really wasn't checking for nobody last year. I definitely felt like something needed to be done. And I didn't feel like the remedy to how I was feeling, I didn't feel like the remedy to my loneliness was a relationship, if that makes sense. And one of the things that I had to come to grips with is that I do believe that relationships are not the cure for loneliness and rejection. And a lot of times you feel this and you think, oh, I should get in a relationship so that I no longer feel lonely. Here's the truth. Even people in relationships go through bouts of loneliness and they feel rejected by their partners. So that's not the cure for it, right? It's really, I really wanted to focus on the underlying feelings that I was having about feeling fulfilled with myself, and my self-esteem, like, and my own self-confidence. Like that's what I wanted to focus on. And I don't think being single is a disease. And I know a lot of people try to cure it for us. If you're a single girl, you know, like everybody trying to tell us why we single. And people forget that it's not like I'm single because no one wants me. I also turn people down as well. Like I'm not sitting around waiting for somebody to pick me. That's not. We are waiting for the stars to align where he wants me and I want him back. Okay? That is what we are waiting for. But a lot of people treat single like it's a disease that they need to help you cure. And people treat women specifically like we're just sitting around waiting to be chosen. And that's not it. I think that last year, it was really about kind of breaking down the layers of like, why was I feeling so lonely and why was my self-esteem so low, basically. And so decentering relationships and then just focusing on myself and realizing that my life is really fulfilling. Like, I have a really amazing life. I love it. Like, it's actually pretty dope. I travel, I go wherever I want to. You know, I have amazing friends and I can date whoever I want. Like, I have a good time at the end of the day. Now, I'm not saying that I don't need a man. Like, I'm not in the I don't need a man camp. But I also am starting to think about, what does that even mean, right? What does need a man look like? Does that look like marriage, a lifelong partner? Who knows? I have not made any decisions on that, but those are things that I've been thinking about. But all that to say, having spent the time last year to decenter relationships and decenter sex was so beneficial for me, because I came into this year with a different level of confidence that was built on a different foundation. And let me see if I can explain this. I was talking to my therapist and I told her, I was like, I think I'm ready to start dating again for real. But I'm a little afraid to. And she was like, what are you afraid of? I said, well, I have this sense of confidence that doesn't come from anybody else. It comes from me. Like, I feel good about myself because I believe I'm good. And I don't know that I want to introduce men into that and open myself up to wanting and seeking and wanting validation from someone else. And she was like, oh, shoot, that's a good point. She was like, but the thing is, like, you've got to kind of take that confidence for a spin, right? You've got to put it out there and realize that, it is something, a foundation that you've built that's solid. And she said, even if it's shaky, you'll identify that and you'll start to lean into it, because this is something that you have that you're probably not willing to let go of. And so I really appreciate that I spent last year just decentering that, because now I am truly in a place where I really do feel like I live a fulfilled life. I live a great life. And a lot of the way I feel about myself it comes from me. It's not anybody else's validation of me. Like, it is really how I feel about me. It's my own self-assessment of me. And I am so grateful. I am so grateful. I'm trying not to cry, but I am so very grateful that I spent the time last year to really work on that. So seriously, Liv, thank you. Okay, on a lighter note, something else I did last year was I started using Notion. So I decentered men and then centered Notion. Notion is my boo. I love Notion so much. It is such a good tool. If you even search the word productivity on YouTube, a bunch of Notion videos are going to come up. Notion is a tool that is very, very customizable for almost anything that you need. What I use it for is I've built a dashboard for my business, for my team to get information. We have workflows in there. So we have boards where me and my team work on our newsletters. And on a personal side, I use it for goal tracking. I use it for notes, for ideas. I even used it to script this video. Like, I have an outline. It's right here on this computer in Notion. And so I really, really do love Notion. I was doing a kind of an audit of my financials and my expenses, and I probably have maybe 4 apps that I'm paying for that I can consolidate into Notion. And so that's going to be a huge cost savings for my business. And I'm also about to build out some stuff for my personal life as well. So I'm really leaning into like learning Notion and mastering Notion, because I am a productivity geek and I love stuff like this. So yeah, kudos to last year Liv for introducing me to Notion, because I love it. It's a game changer. It is truly a game changer. And I think it's really going to just kind of accelerate my ability to capture ideas, to work with my team, and to do some stuff pretty seamlessly. And also to track data about myself. So glad I did that. Number 7 on my list is making myself homeless. My friends thought I was crazy. So last year in April, I own a house in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I put it up for rent in April without anywhere to live. And my friends were like, girl, what you doing? So I'll tell you why I did it. I had been planning to buy another duplex or buy another piece of real estate so that I can invest. And initially when I got to Tulsa in 2020, that was the plan. I'm gonna buy this house. I'm gonna, fix it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna put it up for rent, and I'm gonna buy another one, rinse and repeat, and just keep doing that. And my original goal was to own 2 or 3 places within my first year to year and a half in Tulsa. Where a year and a half later, I was still living in my place and had not done anything. And so I decided that I needed to do something slightly drastic and make myself uncomfortable so that I would actually push myself towards this goal. Because I was like, as long as I'm here, like, I'm too comfortable. I'm just too comfortable. I'm not doing the things that will get me to this goal. So let me make myself quote unquote uncomfortable. And the other thing was, I was in a space where I really want to reduce my living expenses. My goal was, I want to not spend any more than $500 or $600 to live every month. Full disclosure, I think my mortgage was $1,200. And so I was like, I want to cut that in half. I want to cut that in half, and I want to live for $600 or less. Ideally zero, but $600 or less. And I had a list of things that I could do. I could get a duplex and house hack. I could do a tiny home and RV. I could leave the country, or I could go move back in with my parents. Those were my options. And so I decided to put my house up for rent. And what I ended up doing was just kind of traveling and visiting friends. I did some house sitting as well, which is actually pretty cool. But it gave me the kind of freedom to be nomadic that I love. Like, I thrive off of this kind of freedom, but I wasn't really like nomadic out of the country. It was in the summertime, so I was pretty much nomadic in the US. I love the US in the summertime. Like, it's so fun. The US is so fun in the summertime. Anyway, so I was pretty nomadic. I did leave the country a few times. And I visited friends. Oh my God, it was so cool because I got to spend real quality time with friends, like not just a weekend. Like, I would go spend a week or 2 weeks at a friend's house. And, I love hanging out with people at brunch and parties, but there is nothing like sitting on the couch with a charcoal mask on with your girl, just talking about life and like deep feelings about things and really, really getting to know one another. And so I got to do that, and I thought that was great. The other thing was, I didn't spend any money on living. I didn't really spend any money on living anywhere. I have not paid rent or a mortgage since April of last year. I have not had to pay a mortgage or rent since April of last year. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money I'm not spending on living expenses. So who's crazy now? But as a result, like, I've really been able to pay off debt. I've really been able to pay off debt. I've really been able to really get to spend time with friends. And I think what I love about it is that I am so open to opportunities as they come to me now. So if a really good duplex comes to me, or a really good house or Airbnb arbitrage or something comes up, I am positioned to be able to take advantage of that because I'm not tied to anything right now. Or even if an opportunity to leave the country comes up, like, I can do that because I'm not tied to anything specific now. So kudos to last year's Lib for being crazy. All right, and number 8, and the last thing that I will bring up that last year's Lib did that this year's Lib appreciates is co-investing in an Airbnb. So we just talked about how I've been wanting to be in real estate and I wanted to be a real estate investor. Well, several months after I became homeless, my mom indicated that she has a townhouse that is becoming vacant. And I have been after her for a while about us getting an Airbnb in my hometown. I am from Tallahassee, Florida. It is a college town. There are 2 major colleges there. And so that's 2 homecomings, 2 football seasons, 4 graduations. Like, that's a lot, right? And so I've been after my mom for a while about maybe either buying a property and putting it on Airbnb or using a property she owns to put on Airbnb. And so one of her properties became vacant. And I had been wanting to get into Airbnb arbitrage for a while. And so what Airbnb arbitrage is having an Airbnb that you don't own. So a lot of people will look at apartments that are for rent, look at houses or townhouses that are for rent, and they will contact the owner about a rental agreement that allows them to Airbnb the property. So the property owner is a traditional landlord for them. So they're just paying that guy rent. And then they become an Airbnb landlord. And sometimes they will pay the landlord rent, and sometimes they will do an agreement where they are splitting the profits, the Airbnb profits, with the landlord. Whatever the case may be, Airbnb arbitrage is you Airbnb a property that you do not own outright. This was a great opportunity for me to try Airbnb arbitrage because it's a property that I don't own, but it is a property my mother owns. And so this is a great way, I think, to kind of kick off my real estate investment portfolio. I already own one property in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but here's another opportunity for me to get real estate investment income off of a property I don't even own. Now, I did put some money into that property. I paid to get the floors changed. I paid for all the decorations. So I did make some upfront investment in that property as well, but it's been a really cool experience. And I'm so glad that my mom trusted me with this property, that she agreed to do this. And I'm even more glad that last year's Lib was in the position to be able to take advantage of this opportunity. I actually have a guest in my Airbnb right now. He just sent me a message a few minutes ago. So I am really enjoying doing the Airbnb thing. I may get another property in Tallahassee to do another Airbnb, but it is really cool. I feel like an actual real estate investor. And I think this is one of those things where, again, momentum, right? I'm feeling the momentum. And so I feel even closer to my next real estate investment because I did that. So those are just 8 things I did last year that have made this year so much better for me. And I'm so grateful that I did these things. As you're going through your day-to-day, I think it's really important to be present. But I also think that it's important to remember that every action and decision that you make today is either making things easier or harder for yourself tomorrow and in the future. And I'm personally very grateful for my last year's self making decisions and taking actions for myself today to be lighter and happier. Yeah. If you like this kind of self-reflection, you can check out my review videos from last year. At the end of last year, I did a review of my 6 life categories, but I appreciate you hanging out with me. And if you enjoyed this little talk of mine, go ahead and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on alerts so you get notified when I post new videos, and I will see you in the next one.